I started getting into buying sex on a regular basis when I was in my late 30s. There are local papers that have advertisements in the back, and just decided to go see a professional dominatrix.
My first lover was a Puerto Rican hooker. I was a sailor. I didn't know any better.
So I suppose I've been married for 25 years. I didn't want to have an affair, and so I found her on the internet, and it was, I suppose, a mind-blowing experience.
Do we want a society where men can buy sex? Yes. There's nothing wrong with it. Sex is a commodity. People who think sex is not a commodity are delusional. I've had sex with over 5,300 different clients. Like, I know what I'm talking about here.
Ontario sex trade workers celebrate a significant and rare legal victory.
I don't believe it. We never get good news like this.
This story began when lawyer Alan Young and 3 sex workers challenged Canada's laws that make many aspects of sex work illegal.
And here's why it's really sinister. We know people have gone missing in Vancouver, in Winnipeg, in Calgary. There's hundreds of them.
Justice Susan Himmel agreed with the plaintiffs and their claim that the existing laws put sex workers at risk.
We won't have to work in fear and under the gun and on the run, and my colleagues won't show up dead. It was stunning to me that we won. It's completely logical. However, logic doesn't usually enter into any debates around.
There are women in the sex trade that are happy with their work. As counterintuitive as that sounds to the prohibitionist, there are. And there's many of them. And all they want from this case, and all they wanted from me, is to create a legal regime which doesn't make their job harder. And when I say harder, I'm not just meaning more difficult economically, but harder in terms of risks to physical security.
No government, no religion, no army in history has ever been able to stop sex workers. For 2 simple reasons: sex and money. If you want to stop sex workers, you have to stop sex and you have to stop money. You think you're up for that job?
For 15 years, I was a hooker. And a lot of it was my identity.
And women, who do we have as our role model? Marilyn Monroe, Betty Boop, fucking Jessica Rabbit. So you do have no right to come here and call down women who choose to do what they want to do. So fuck yourself.
Yeah, exactly. I'll pay for all your plane tickets to go to Bangkok and maybe tell your problem there. This is a strip club. Fuck,
our problem isn't with the girls.
Across the street, go and have a beer there.
Our problem isn't with the girls.
Yeah? Well, this place is...
The oldest profession is actually farming, and it's not inevitable. It's not. That same argument was made about domestic violence. I mean, just because we have things with us all the time, does that mean we don't try working against it?
As we stated in the press release, we're all deeply troubled by the decision handed down by Judge Himmel. We know from our lived truth that we shared that it was not the laws that beat and raped us, it was men. It was not the location that made us unsafe, it was the men we were in that location with that were unsafe. We have to interfere with the unchecked male demand for paid sex.
My big umbrella goal is to see Canada adopt the Nordic model of law, the Swedish model of law. Sweden criminalized the demand for paid sex, pimping, procuring, and trafficking. And they decriminalized the women. So they looked at it from a women's equality standpoint and as a violence against women issue.
The real question for me is this: does women make them equal? And the answer to that question is no. Why are there so many women with fetal alcohol syndrome, women with addictions, poor, young, Aboriginal or racialized women in
the vast majority of persons are women, in fact, and certainly, you know, we know that the buyers are almost exclusively men. So, is gendered in that very kind of obvious, structured way.
Right, and in fact, in most cities, you're far more likely to be charged and convicted as the woman than you are as the buyer. So that is something that I think
the abolitionist position, the position of the women's movement, has always been that this is not about personal morality, whatever that might be, that this is about power, which is something quite different.
Mr. Speaker, it is a problem that harms individuals and it harms communities. And this is why I'm pleased to indicate to the House that the government will appeal and will seek a stay of that decision.
They just deny the existence of my people. And I don't understand that these are real people with real problems involving the law who have made a free will choice to sell their bodies.
Well, I've always liked the sex industry. When I was a little kid, there'd be an old Western movie on TV, and the cowboys' wives, they always lived on the outskirts of town in some rundown shack, and the cowboy bossed them around, and they were in these raggy old dresses with a couple of babies hanging, squalling off of it. Like, I didn't want that, but the saloon girl, I was intrigued. They were in the center of town, they knew what was going on, there was music, sometimes they'd get to own the saloon. That was more my style. The first professional dancing costume I ever had made was that of Saloon Girl. I was about 16 or so. Like, people want to go on about how it was abuse in their minds, but not in mine. And I think that's the most important thing. And I do not believe that all sex workers, including myself, are delusional.
I would have said I chose it. I would have said, like, there was a point in my life, probably in my really early 20s, when I loved it. It was great. It was fun. It was a party. And I would have said I choose it in that singular moment. But you can't, it's not about a singular moment. It's about all the moments that got you to that place. I didn't think it was strange. I didn't think it was wrong until I remember in like grade 5 or grade 6 or something, we had a constable or something come in and talk about good touching and bad touching. And I was just floored that this was the bad touching, you know. It never occurred to me until then. You always knew, it just didn't seem quite right, but you never actually voiced your opinion in my house. I mean, I was already sleeping with people to get high or drink by the time I was 12. And then when I went to my first group home, I just got shown, I guess, the official ropes.
I never knew what you did, but I told everyone you worked in a bar.
That's what I told you. That's what I told everyone.
But I didn't know what you did there. And that's all I knew.
When did you find out?
I figured it out eventually. It's not that hard. Your mom works at a bar, is coming home at 2 o'clock in the morning every day.
I mean, I've always done it on my own financially. Not a dime of child support.
My wife, she hasn't been in my bed for 10 years. So, and that's not because we're not friends. We're very close. We travel together, we talk together, we work together, we do a lot of things together. For whatever reason, her sex drive is essentially non-existent and mine isn't.
I really don't want to get involved in another relationship. You know? Too much work and too much compromise.
I just melted. I went from being terrified to within minutes going, this is so right. You know? And probably, if it had been with just an average person who had the same level of experience, it might have been a nervous nightmare. So time to bring in the professional, you know, the artiste.
I know that our opponents talk about what kind of men go see sex workers, and look at your husbands, look at your brothers, and look at your sons. Like, this is who we see.
It has been argued here that Canada's laws are what makes prostitution unsafe. For them, there is no talk of the large systemic issues that force women into prostitution. No talk of the societal harm, emotional harm, mental harm, spiritual harm. It is the Johns we must shift our gaze to, for they have gone unnoticed for far too long, lost in the noisy argument of women's personal choice.
Do you know who this is? No. It's Brenda Wolf's daughter.
It was startling to see just how much Angel looked like her mom.
I love hearing you speak. It really, loved it.
Oh, it's such an honor and a pleasure to meet you.
I knew Angel's mom in the downtown east side when there was a lot of us talking about Picton and a lot of us talking about how we had friends who were going missing and who wouldn't be seen again. And then we didn't see her again.
And your mom used to always come and hang out there.
I was like still in elementary school when it first came out, the whole trial. Everybody knew that, like, oh, her mom was like a who worked on the street and, you know, shot up heroin, this and that. And it was just that stereotype that I didn't want to be a part of. So I wouldn't self-identify that I was Native. I didn't, you know, I wasn't proud to be my mom's daughter. I had a huge hatred for her because I couldn't understand why she chose that life over us.
Robert Picton took advantage of the vulnerable and dispossessed and took them out to his farm and would be charged with killing 26 of them, convicted of 6. And there's a lot of suspicion that he killed many more of than just those 26.
Well, I have to forgive her now. That wasn't who she was. It makes me sad in a way that it is the 19th annual walk. The fact that this has been happening for so long, that these women keep on going missing and no one's doing anything, you know, really needs to stop.
Yeah, it's the men who yield the knife. The question in the case is the law complicit in this? And the law is complicit in this because it takes away strategies that women can use to protect themselves from the predators. The law doesn't cause anything. The law is an abstraction. It creates a framework within which you make decisions, and this framework takes away the decisions you need to avoid the Gary Ridgways, the Joel Rifkins, the Arthur Shawcrosses, the Robert Pictons, the Yorkshire Ripper. I can go on and on. They all preyed on street women. Maybe some of those women could have opened a door and avoided it.
The lessons from Picton were not that we ought to have more brothels. He was running a sort of brothel for himself and his friends. You know, the lessons of Picton are that we need to take male violence against women seriously, and that is a part of that. We need to stop the men from coming in and scooping up these women, you know, to take them back and abuse them in exchange for money and drugs. That's the problem here. It's unacceptable that we have a population of disposable women that can be used in this way.
What happened to your back, boo? Probably got in a fight. I've been scrapping. I've been trying to stay out of them. Like, I really do. I'm getting old.
Well, Angel is a woman I've known for 17 years. For years we worked together.
Black hair now, which is
Honey,
good.
you need to get that looked at.
Oh, it's nothing. What?
Can you make a fist yet?
Well, yeah.
Oh, yeah, you're well on your way. You're fine.
It was dangerous, as dangerous then as it is now. But this is what I know. My mom had her own addictions and did what she thought she had to do and what was taught to her. And so when I was 11, my mom put me out on the street. Not on the street, like she would go to the street and bring people home, right? And that's how and that was in the hotels here too, so. I haven't talked about it in a long time. I never ever once said I wanted to be a prostitute. We're made.
Case used to be way up by where we used to work.
Most of us are Aboriginal down here, so they're just like me.
It's our old piece of real estate.
We owned it.
Right? This was ours. Well, here and down there.
I worked up there.
There's no traffic here, though, anymore.
No. I don't know, maybe.
We used to come here, and it was like constant traffic. Yeah. No one drove down these roads except for single men in cars.
I honestly believe there's nothing wrong with what I'm doing.
Would you have come to that decision if you had grown up free from an abusive household and grown up in a loving household?
Well, that's an entirely other situation. How are you, now you're saying abolish prostitution, but also abolish abuse and abolish, you know, and that would definitely be good, you
But
know?
I think
too many kids get hurt.
I know, which is why we have to say to men, you can't buy women, because we shouldn't be allowing them to exploit, abuse children.
These could be guys that are out looking for me now, right? That would have raped their daughter or their neighbor's daughter or their son or whatever, but instead of doing that, they go for a drive and they find one of us.
I am not willing
like
to
all those
allow an abused child who grew up into an abused woman be offered up as some sort of sacrifice in order to save another child.
This is a sex worker-led plan. We don't want people to be coerced into this business, and we don't want any kind of violence and deception, and we're trying to bring it out into the sunlight here. I think the best model currently in the world is New Zealand.
The world's oldest profession is now legal in New Zealand, but the move to decriminalise squeezed in by only one vote.
The change means charging for sex or living off the proceeds is legal, but hiring an under 18-year-old won't be. The law also allows sex workers to say no, a key reason former Georgina Beyer backed the bill.
It would have been nice to have known that instead of having to deal out the justice myself afterwards to that person, I may have been able to approach the authorities, the police in this case, and say, I was...
Decriminalisation means we have very limited laws that discriminate against sex workers. We have a model where sex workers have a lot of options. They can work for themselves, they can work in managed brothels, or they can work on the street. So, you know, they're free like any other worker in that way. There are some people who want to get out, but there are others who say, look, I'm really happy, I'm comfortable doing this.
Good afternoon, Paradise. Fiona speaking. What sort of age group, darling, are you looking for? Excellent, wonderful. Are you looking for blonde or brunette? What sort of size are you looking for, honey? It's $160 for half an hour. At the moment, we have a Christmas special of $180 for the hour. All right, thank you very much. Bye. No, cock. Yeah, he sounded rough, ready. He wants someone young, under the age of, you know, as young as he can get them, which always raises alarm bells for me. And the other one that raises alarm bells, new to the industry. You know, the girl that is new to the industry wants to be the first client, because then she doesn't know the rules. The clients here know that I teach the girls the rules before they even go in the room. So there's no misbehaving. I'm mum to a lot of the girls.
Yeah, Jazz and I say that it's the Fiona Basket home for wayward girls. Because we all kind of end up here. We all operate the same sort of situation. Yeah, well, I wouldn't work anywhere else. Because everywhere else it's just a business. You just stock. That's all you are. They're shifting units. They don't care about you as a person. Like,
you know, I'm very fair. But it comes down to it. If I say something, I expect it to be done. I don't expect to be backlit. I will not cast a blind eye for drugs. You do drugs in my establishment, yeah, that's when you really see the wrath. You know, it is a business and I am the boss. I've got to make sure the personality and the style fits in with what we do as well. With you, it was easy. You were exactly what I was looking for. I said to Carmen the 2 days before, I need a blonde, I need someone under 20, I need a size 6 to 8. It was like the recruitment fairy came along. So if you guys find anyone that is a brunette, under 20, a size 6 to 8, that's what I need next. And the marketing is important. So like, we've got a marketing plan, so we know where we're going to put our money towards marketing and who we're going to market and how we're going to market. Each girl's a little bit different. I mean, Carmen being a lovely, exotic, dark girl is a little bit different, but she does a great submissive with Mistress. A star experience is she uses all the toys that are in the room that you've seen, and it's a really erotic experience. Now, a girlfriend experience is a hand job, a blowjob and straight sex. That's how we sell it. It depends on what the client is wanting, and that way we match up to the girl.
Because our client base is probably guys from about 30, 45-ish is like the main group of people, and most of them say that if it was illegal they wouldn't do it. Yeah. You know, they're mostly like corporate guys, yeah, self-employed, clean-cut, nice people who are just sort of sneaking out for lunch because they've had a boring day.
I have a great marriage. My wife I love dearly. She loves me. However, she is very vanilla in the way she likes to make love. And I guess as a guy, you know, sometimes we want something a bit different or a bit extra.
I don't rationalise it by saying, oh, I'm helping her get through university, or I'm helping a solo mum support 3 kids or whatever. I don't need to rationalise it like that. I've gone way past that stage. To me, it's a business transaction.
It's usually very, very active, less conversation, very messy, multiple positions, you know, all the services, anal, you know, things like that.
Well, with this job, I think the most important things are impeccable grooming and a really strong stomach. I was into some pretty kinky stuff before I started working, so bit of a non-issue. In terms of people in this industry, like, I'm not that young. Like, Hook is age in dog years. But I mean, I'm, you know, well-educated, I've got my degrees, I've got lots of work experience. I could do lots of other things if I wanted to, but I felt more used and exploited working a minimum wage job where I get 10-minute lunch breaks than I do doing this and doing what I want and having the financial stability to sort of, you know, own a house in less than 2 years if I want. So for me, this is the best option.
I was studying a Bachelor of Nursing, did the first year of it, and I'll probably go back and do the second year next year.
Thank you, Mum.
I've been sort of portrayed as the girl next story, kind of, because I'm the young one and I'm the new one, and that's the sort of story that I act up to a little bit, but it's pretty much just whatever the client wants, really. I'm now Samantha, and I'm going to see a man that is quite odd.
Good girl. Proud of you. We run a VIP membership program. Every time they get a booking, they give me the number and they actually get their 11th booking free of charge. It's part of their VIP program. It's good. It's just like, you know, buy 10 coffees, get one free. This is his 11th free.
What it makes me understand is that those women aren't feeling that they have other sufficient economic options. And that's where I need the society, the culture to move to. Isn't it interesting that nobody introduces things like cost-benefit analyses into these debates? These are hugely economic debates, both at micro and macro level, because we have things like, from the moment student loans were introduced, women students have determined that one of the fastest ways to pay off their loans is as a sex worker, and they're quite right. I mean, the Students' Association of New Zealand are able to demonstrate that it takes New Zealand women graduates 6 to 7 years longer than men with the same degree to pay off their loans, and these women are trying to short-circuit it.
Hands and knees, just front leg back, back. Think sex, think naughty. Yeah, I'm Steve Crow. I've been in the adult industry since '93.
A little bit closer, a little bit straighter, and then just slight bend and then push your ass out.
Boobs out, butts out, boobs and bums. I own New Zealand's largest adult magazine and largest distribution company of pornographic DVDs and toys. I think that's enough, the two of you. A few months ago, we bought an escort directory.
Okay, so you want to change Nancy's ad? Just with Asian lady on it, not with her name.
The traffic is phenomenal. I mean, for a site in New Zealand to get 35,000 unique visitors a week is huge. And I'll be just basically overseeing the sales process with the girls. Rachel will be managing the club side of it, as in dealing with the clubs. And this is my partner and fiancée, Rachel Whitwell.
Thank you.
You're welcome, mate. Now you can say your own name. I'll give you permission.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Rachel. The only sort of dodgy thing that I've found from doing that job is the people that possibly might not be legal here in New Zealand.
Yeah.
And I photographed one Asian girl, and she had like so many bruises, and I just thought, that's, you know, I don't like that.
Yeah.
And because they don't speak English and that person's interpreting for them, you think, oh, you know, is this a choice thing?
Even if you like, if you can get into the market.
Obviously, the primary reason to get into it is money. Yeah, it's a business. We're here to make money.
Steve, what's the busiest parlour that you know that a girl could go and work for tonight?
Depends how good looking she is.
Really, how good looking are you, do you think? You know, on a scale of 1 to 10?
More and more girls are turning to the sex industry to earn a living because, quite frankly, they're struggling to survive. You know, it used to be 10 years ago, it was quite hard in a small country like New Zealand to get girls to do explicit photo shoots. Now we turn them down. I mean, we're getting them every day, every week. Girls wanting to do nude photo shoots for us. Girls that never would have in the past. I mean, if you go to the White House or any of the clubs, they will say that, you know, they're getting a higher calibre of girl coming in to dance.
I built the White House in 2000. We've got Bill on the front door when you walk in. The reason for Bill is I think he was always a good guy, and And a little bit because he's a naughty guy, and we're all naughty guys, and some of us get away with it. But poor Bill got caught.
Who else is up there?
I got two businesses. One is a striptease club, and the other is a massage parlour. Generally, you might come from the White House upstairs, you walk downstairs, so you look at it up there, you have it down here. Main course, dessert. I don't want to call my place a brothel. I can call it Monica's. To other people, it mightn't be a perfect name, but it suits my White House, basically. But there is no way our government put any thought into this legalisation. You've got millions of dollars getting spent right now trying to adjust things that are going wrong. There's still girls getting murdered. There's more prostitution on the street than ever. Most of our girls that have left now since the legalisation go and open up little places all over the place. You've got hundreds of people going everywhere else but here, and this is where the money's been spent.
In some ways it's the easiest money you can make, but in other ways it's the hardest money you'll make. Because the managers will say, oh, it's just great, it's fine and lovely here, you'll make $5,000 a night. It's bullshit. Yeah, it's kind of hard to get your head around sleeping with, 10 guys in one night and not knowing them, and it can mess with your head a wee bit. Yeah, I couldn't imagine working on the street.
I don't want to work in a brothel. I don't want to get naked in a bedroom and have guys molest me. I want to keep my clothes on. I want in and out. I'm in control. So out here, I can handle that. But if I'm in a brothel, what am I going to do? Lie on a bed? No, thank you. Then I want some pimp ruling my life. I've been there, done that. Out here, I'm in control.
I've been a Māori warden for about 14 years. Māori wardens have certain authorities to work within the community to prevent drunkenness and disorderly behaviour. I supported the rights of the street workers to do what they're doing if they so choose, because they've got no other way of surviving adequately. Just about all of them prostituting on the streets, Māori or Pacific Island women. They wouldn't be able to get by in a brothel. The women know it's dangerous. They know that they could get beaten up or worse. So if they didn't have to do it, why the heck do you think they do it? I mean, I've seen them here, time after time, going round and round the streets, looking at all the girls, and they consistently go for the younger, fresher ones. You can't have if you haven't got clients. That's the reality. So maybe they need to look at that, but if that's the case, where are these girls going to get money to survive? Thank God I'm not a politician.
So what was happening here is that would come up in this beautiful old homestead, and they would conduct their business right there. And so when you came out the next day to collect your paper, you had condoms littered. You're small, you're exposed, you're open, and so the were coming here. I supported the beginning because I thought this was going to make safer, and we can actually create these small owner-operated businesses that if we don't want to go into a brothel, you can in fact have working in their home, and that would be all right. And so you were thinking pretty much you would get them indoors, you would get them out off the street. If that's the best we can do for our young people, offer them a life on the streets doing this, because it's their choice. What kind of society are we? Is this what you aim for?
New Zealand's given us, in the short term, what's the most logistical and strategic way to move on decriminalisation, to move on health risks, to move on some human rights, to move around actually taxing the underground economy. It's short term, but I want to hope that we will be able to keep building and making and framing societies where no man or woman feels they have to do this, where no children are sold into this.
When an Ontario court struck down 3 key laws on, it set off a discussion that rocketed from one end of the country to the other. Here's what was struck down: the provisions against communication for the purpose of living off the avails of and keeping a common body house. Now, Ottawa is appealing the decision, but if the decision stands, pimping and brothels could become completely legal in Ontario. We want to know what you think. Call us.
No, prostitution should not be legalized. If you really want to help prostitutes, the best way is to provide them with detoxification opportunities.
The judge is a hero.
This whole thing is ludicrous.
It gives men the go-ahead to purchase women.
Yes, has always been with us and always will be with us, but I'm against it because it leads to harms to the social fabric.
Working indoors is the safest possible opportunity. It gives sex workers the ability to control the conditions of their work, to increase safety.
That was a lot of 2 hours. Holy crap. My gosh. But it's good, right? Because you figure out what we need to highlight, the truth that needs to come out, and what people get, right?
It's always good to have a little dose of both sides. I did not realize the damage that had been done to me as much as it was until I left. There's people who come in and want fetishes. They want you to act like their daughters. They want spankings. They want the most disgusting stuff. But now it's justifiable because now it's legal. I'm not doing anything wrong. You know, it's okay to do this.
Because we know what we lived through. We know the repercussions today, what we went through, and, you know, that's what we need to bring to the table. We need to bring our experiences.
Just see what we can do. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it.
It's in the reports.
Yeah. Okay, let's see what we got here. I need to recapture control. It's very important for me, maybe more psychologically than, you know, strategically. I'm going to start with occupation at risk. But see, my point is I'm going to show what's not in dispute. And I'm going to move very quickly, so I don't want to be melodramatic. But this has to be looked at because you have to understand the gravity of the harm. It's not about getting scratched in a parking lot. And that everything the Crown is doing is smoke and mirrors, because ultimately when you look at the evidence, it's solid, and what they're saying was disregarded is bullshit. That's it. It was nothing.
It was a fast day.
Nothing. Maybe I won't work tonight. Here's the secret I want to tell you. People don't come to me to do the case. I go to them. I come up with the issue, I come up with the argument, and then I find the right people for the case. And so that's what happened here. Initially, it was Terry Jean.
Prime Minister Harper, you've been a very, very bad boy. And I'm not afraid of you, but you're afraid of me because he's supposed to take care of all of his citizens, great and small. And for him to feel that he has no need to protect these women, he's acting like a deadbeat dad.
She's a very quirky, nice person, and her life story demonstrated my case. And then I remember reading about Val, because Val was an advocate.
We're doing well. We are doing really well in there.
I thought she was a very good spokesperson on this issue. Like, she really knew what to say, the right things to say, and not histrionic. And she so much wanted to be part of it.
They're giving him a hard time. They've read our materials and they're giving him
Now, I know
really
they're
hard
going to
time.
give Alan a hard time, too. But
The problem was, court would say, I don't have standing to challenge the law because the two women, Scott and Bedford, were currently not working. So a court could take the view, I'm only going to make a decision for someone that it impacts immediately. I didn't agree with that, by the way, but that was fine. So I said, Val, find me someone currently working. And that's how Amy came aboard. They're important people for the case, but it was pretty much whoever was available to be able to stand up for themselves.
I find the Crown's arguments convoluted and not making logical sense. Because if we change things, it might make things worse. He says there's no proof. He is wrong. We have New Zealand that decriminalized in 2003. So come on, don't tell me there's no proof. There's lots of it.
It's really neat getting to talk to you guys. So well spoken.
Thank you.
Some wonderful clips.
Great. Well, I like to throw out a few sound bites when I get the chance. Okay?
Yeah.
I think they got some good clips in my coffee mug.
Today's the day that the interveners present our case. They're all the national heads of women's organizations that have come together to take a stand and get the true picture read into the courts and the version of law that we all support.
The Canadian Association of Elizabeth Fry Societies, Native Women's Association, Canadian Association of Sexual Assault Centres, the Francophone Women's Centres, and CLE in Montreal. You know, their mission is really to deal with the aftermath of prostitution and what men do to women in prostitution. And as they try to pick up the pieces and advocate for change, we're here to say that it's simply not acceptable that the male demand is completely decriminalized. Once you decriminalize that demand, then it validates the need to produce a supply. It's the most difficult part of this whole issue, is to get the focus shifted off the women and this kind of dissection of their motives and whether they're enjoying it and all of those kinds of issues, to actually focus on the men who are profiting and who are buying.
You're going to reduce demand? This is an instinctive drive. I'm sorry, you can't do that. We can't rewrite human nature. People have an instinctive drive to sex. If you don't have a safe, healthy outlet within your interpersonal relationship, many people are going to seek it out in a commercial market. If she feels you can eradicate that, let's make her prime minister.
We are the product of 100,000 years of evolution, and we are hardwired to think a certain way, and no amount of puritanical laws and shaming is going to change that.
Bareback blowjobs, cum in mouth, French kissing. Let's see. I do like a lot of caressing, maybe some erotic massage, you know, things like that.
They should be really thanking these girls that are out there making a living doing this for keeping their husbands from leaving home and destroying the family and not supporting the kids and all that other stuff. It's worth a couple $100 once every couple of weeks for him to go and get his jollies somewhere else, especially if she doesn't want to sleep with him anymore.
This is the Pickton legacy, is what people are saying, is this case needs to go ahead because of the horrific thing that happened in Vancouver.
So I worked with Pickton's victims. I worked beside them. My friends were the ones that were found on his farm. I covered his trial as a reporter for a year, and I can honestly say that what we need to do in the legacy of Pickton's victims is criminalize the male demand. If there was no male demand, my friends would not have been on the streets. I would not have been on the streets. We need to set laws that create a positive environment for Canada to work towards, that creates a new Canada that we can work towards, and one that errs on the side of equality.
Pardon me? Yeah. It is extended until ordered otherwise, which really means until the judgment comes down. We didn't come here today to commercialize. That's what the government says. We've come here to open up really rudimentary safety measures. Hire a bodyguard. That's not creating a huge corporate structure for. Hire a bodyguard, work in your home, behind closed doors, in a safe and secure environment for yourself.
But it's more than the government making that argument. It's ex-workers. What do you say about their fears that this is going to increase recruitment?
I say to these people, I'm sorry for what happened to you, but don't extrapolate from your experience into public policy. There's a huge gap between the two things.
And full name and spelling, sir?
Alan Young, A-L-A-N-Y-O-U-N-G.
Thanks, Alan.
Okay, everybody good? Okay.
Can I
Cool.
talk to you now about the thing about medicinal marijuana?
Yeah, but really quickly, because I got a lot.
If we pass the Swedish Small of Law tomorrow, a Canadian version, it's not going to eliminate in a heartbeat. It's not like every man's all of a sudden going to zip up his pants and say no more, and every is going to say, okay, getting a different job. But it's about creating legacy. And this is for my daughter. This is for my grandchildren. Let's talk to the police. Let's see how they enforce, if it's helped what they do, and let's talk to men.
Riksdagen beslutade idag att köp av sexuella tjänster ska kriminaliseras. Den nya lag som från årsskiftet kriminaliserar den som köper eller försöker köpa sexuella tjänster märks redan av tydligt. Enligt de poliser som arbetar vid det kända prostitutionsstråket Malmskillnadsgatan i Stockholm så har bara ett fåtal prostituerade och kunder varit synliga där de senaste nätterna. Polisen fruktar dock att sexhandeln nu istället kommer att flytta inomhus eller ske via mobiltelefoner.
One of the most frequent asked questions is that you push underground with this type of legislation. But even before the law, most of activities took place indoors. The buyers can find women in and buy them. The police should be able also to do that. I mean, we can't say that the buyers are smarter than the police. If the police wants to find out where takes place, they can.
We are two teams working undercover with surveillance 24/7. We use our intelligence to see what groups are active in Stockholm, and then we start to follow them, follow the girls on outcalls, observe, follow the customers, identify the customers without them knowing it, of course, and use wiretaps, cameras, and through documentation, we build a case.
You must know that there was 30 years of research and a feministic movement lobbying for criminalizing the buying of sexual services. And also, why should we criminalize only the buyer? The main, actually, principle is that you want women to leave. Therefore, you should not put extra burden on them, also criminalizing them. Very often, the woman in is socially marginalized and maybe ethnically too, economically, while the buyer, we have a lot of research regarding the buyers, and very often middle-aged men, married, having families, kids, a steady job, a steady income, and then you can easily see who is in power here. With this law, we reduce acts of violence against women, and we also can save women's lives.
Dangerous? Here? Yeah. No, but you can look, you know, I can see.
Yeah. They can give us the opportunity to see our mind as a prostitute. We have to say to them that they should not be taking our customer from us.
We have big psychology,
they should not be taking money from the men. They are harassing the men. Now the men, they are scared to come to the street to take girls from the street.
Of course, it scares them away, and there has been a lot of surveys also that shows that if you ask sex buyers what would make them stop, the first thing is legislation, and the other thing is shame games, if their names are to be put up or they could be identified as buyers.
I became interested in buyers in the late 70s here in this city, where I worked in the streets as a social worker among. And some men actually phoned us and were concerned that we stole their women, took them away from them. And then I became obviously interested in, what is the need?
Men det är ju intressant att konstatera att tittar vi på de skandinaviska länderna så är det ungefär mellan 13 och 14% av männen i Skandinavien som säger att de har den här typen av erfarenhet. Och om vi tittar till exempel i
Germany, we're talking about 45 to 50%. If you look at Thailand, we're talking about 75%. So if there was a sort of a component of sex drive, there was like sort of biologically a part of the biological constitution, those figures wouldn't vary so much. The way that sexuality expresses itself is more of a social and cultural construction than anything else. Our children, if they grow up in a context where it's part of the rite de passage to become a man, to go with your uncle to a brothel, the message is that this is part of your life, this is necessary for you to become a man. As opposed to society where people say that this is nothing we do here. To buy sex is not allowed in this society. We do it in another way.
Of course, it takes other shapes and forms. You will see that there are other means of but I still think it's a good thing. I mean, we're sending a clear signal it's not okay.
They have no right to buy someone. No one has the right to buy another person, I think. So.
People get abused and hurt through that, so we just disagree with it. Sorry.
Women and men shall have equal power to shape the society and their own lives. They shall earn the same salaries for performing work or work of equal value. Men and women shall share the responsibility for the home and for the children. The European Commission said that every day millions of women go to work and will be victims of sexual harassment. If men feel that they can sexually harass their colleagues at work, well, the next step is to use more or less some violence to have sex with a woman. And the next step is to buy a body, and then you have trafficking in the end of this scale. And there is, of course, a connection. And that is one reason why we have criminalized buying.
Millions of women, and some less, but some men also, are doing this kind of work with no right at all.
In Sweden, we try to support women who are. We are giving them medical support, social support, etc. Of course, they are entitled to all the support they can get. But that is not the same thing as saying it's okay to buy bodies.
It's the women who have had to take the blame. Now we try to turn the wheels. Then, of course, some people look upon this as a way of stigmatizing the buyer. Yes, in a way, of course. I mean, because we are pointing at the buyers and saying that without the buyers, there would be no prostitution. So you have to take your responsibility now. It's historically just that you do it right now.
Without demand, the supply isn't going to be there. Without supply, the demand can do whatever it wants. But if there's nobody willing to do it, well, what are you going to do?
I think the Swedes are right. I mean, there is a whole level of inequality that's going on there. Well, okay, if you believe that, And I can see no reason not to believe it. It's a totally legitimate argument. But to me, that's like saying, I don't believe in abortion, but I refuse to adopt the kids. What kind of crap is that?
I mean, if we're going to support them, like they do in Sweden, I'm going to end up paying anyway because they're going to jack my taxes up. So I'm going to get screwed by the government, and I'm not going to get screwed by the girl. And I'd much rather get screwed by the girl.
I'll go to Copenhagen to Brussels, and I'll go by train, a taxi. That takes me about half an hour.
People were laughing at Sweden, saying that men are just going over to Copenhagen from here, you know, just driving across the bridge. I mean, you can't control that from the Swedish parliament or from the Swedish police office in Malmö. That's part of the whole complexity of the phenomenon, because this is a global phenomenon. But what we can do here is to go on with this debate and discussion and challenge the whole phenomenon, you know, in different ways, and discuss it and open some minds. I think that's very important.
My latest film is called Like a Pasha. It was kind of like a result of trying to deconstruct manhood in some ways. So 4 years ago there was the soccer World Championships in Germany, and there was a discussion on whether or not Swedish football fans was going to go buying sex. So I followed a group of supporters down in Germany and followed them to this brothel, Pasha, which is the biggest brothel in Europe. They said that it was around like 700, 800 men coming there every day. More on the like global oppression, or like global inequality. It's like, here's the African women, here's the Eastern women, here's the Asian women, and you could look at their prices to see like where they are in the global status chain, you know, like the young German women are, of course, the most expensive ones, and like the older African women are the ones that are cheapest.
How was it?
Good, quite good.
What's up to you? Don't you like?
The film, of course, was put in the context of this debate and the discussion in Sweden and in Europe. But I always wanted to bring it down to the level where it was about the men who came there and why they wanted to buy sex.
Men fantasize about having sex with prostitutes, and they sometimes say, I don't get any sex at home, you know, and I don't get the sex that I would like to have. You know, all these other guys get all that kind of sex, and I seem to be the only one that don't get it, you know. And of course, here you also have a connection between, because the fantasies around the kind of sex that other guys have are images that are, you know, portrayed in. So they would be, you know, they would feel that they are entitled. They are entitled to this, you know.
You don't have a girlfriend, or your girlfriend is not here, and you feel a very sexual, strong feeling. You want to have some sex. You just, without thinking love or not love, go here, find a girl, or this girl I like, spend money, make your sex, go out and finish. You think too deep about the things. You think too deep, you know?
Being a man is being tough and being hard and being ready to treat other people bad, you know? And to do this, you need to shut off a lot of emotions, because you need to disable those emotions that make you stop. I mean, if you look at armies and prison system, police systems, globally, it's almost 100% men, you know, and I think it's connected, that you need to shut off those emotions that would make you stop from hurting other people. And what you sacrifice is closeness to other people.
key law to understand the gender equality debate has nothing to do with. That's the parental leave reform. That's the most important law that we have in this country when it comes to issues of gender equality. The issue is a hangaround, to the major, interesting, most definite, groundbreaking, cutting-edge law, the parental leave reform.
How could it not be good for men to be with their kids at home? Still, it's women who's been driving that development too, right? And I've been doing this so much now, showing my film and talking about it, and to me, it feels like people really, really like to talk about this. The sad part is that it's usually most women who want to understand why men are so obsessed with sex.
I feel very emotional, and it can be really, really hard to speak with someone that haven't seen the movie. But I don't feel like having sex tonight at all.
I think what we should work at is a great, even greater openness towards sexuality in our society, and open up the possibility of talking about sex in a more relaxed manner than we do. This is not the gender equality paradise in Sweden, and backlashes we do have. But if we have the ambition to open up for more mutuality, more trust, more experiments and fantastic meetings between men and women, that's the first step. And prostitution is not the answer. It's the cul-de-sac, it's a dead-end street.
I've truly been humbled by the men I've met and how they even envision, in some ways, bigger for women than I could even envision. I don't want to just punish anymore. Men can be men in a way that I had never dreamed possible. And I mean that in a totally different way now, to say I want better for men. I think in some ways, and I'm gonna get flack for this, but men are just as robbed of their masculinity as women are of our equality in a lot of ways in North America. And they're being robbed of their masculinity robs us of our equality, and you can't, I don't think you can separate them.
I know it's kind of shitty behavior, but I don't think I'm gonna stop.
I'm widowed. I'm retired. And I'm 60. So I don't have to give a rat's ass what people think. You know?
The only way you're going to change it is to castrate them at birth. That might change it. Other than that, you don't have much of a chance.
I'm feeling sick to my stomach. I'm really hoping that this turns out the way that a lot of us are hoping.
Well, we look forward to hearing the news when you come out.
Yes, I'm gonna go in and see what happens. Okay, thank you.
Here we go. It's right here. She is right on time.
Oh, you're shaking. I've never seen
I'm not
you like
shaking.
this.
I'm not shaking. I'm fine.
You should have seen.
Oh, I can't get to what I want to read.
I can't deal with the stress. And we have 2 minutes to go. I'm gonna throw up.
I wish it was hard copy. I tell you already what it was.
case is that?
Okay.
I want to let
Okay,
Alan get there.
210, 212 are gone.
And 213's in.
210
This is
and 212
Right? That was what face I was making.
210 and 212.
So 210's body house, 212's living on the
head
Vales.
going
They're
here.
not striking out communicating.
Okay, remember the
But the 210 and 212 are out? Isn't that wonderful?
Wow.
Blown away. Look at them go. That's
Okay,
great.
so I guess we won, more or less.
We won?
More or less. I never wanted to challenge communication in the first place, so I never thought I would be able to knock it out.
He's the mastermind.
You're
That's
here.
why.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's true.
Yay! You did it, Alan.
Wait a sec.
Oh my God. Court rules laws against pimping and brothels unconstitutional, but uphold law against communicating to sell sex. Why would they do that?
You can run a body house now and not get charged.
Yeah,
The only one that stayed was
the communicating for the purpose of.
It was the communicating law that was the law that was really being enforced across Canada, and that was being alleged to have, increased the danger to women in. And what we end up with is those women continuing to be criminalized, the applicants apparently prepared to live with that result.
I didn't want to attack communication on the street because I don't think people want sex workers on the street. But there are problems with the communication law, and I'm supposed to represent the interests of sex workers, so I felt I had no choice but to add the third offense to the mix. But when the dust settles, if everything's upheld but body house, then I feel this has been a successful result.
I'm waiting for you to tell me what I should say to the press.
Okay, do you have anything planned?
Flick my riding crop and say a few zingers I'm really happy about today or whatever.
So, you're happy. Why are you happy? You're happy because, what do you want to say, the court did the right thing?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe say this, that you would have been much better off and much safer if this decision had happened 25 years ago when you were in the trade or something. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Bedford can bring her riding crop, but this is what is used to discipline prostitutes who don't listen to their pimps. It is heated up, it is called a pimp stick, and this is what we're trying to protect our community from.
We have changed the face of Canada's prostitution laws. And although there will be detractors who don't understand what's happened, this is actually a good thing for Canada, and will take some time for the naysayers to realize that the court has done the right thing. Not everybody will benefit from this decision. There are people who work in the sex trade that are survival sex workers that don't have the wherewithal and the ability to take advantage of it, but the court's saying it doesn't matter, because if we save one life, we've saved 1 million lives.
We have not solved the problem of what goes on in the street, which is a very complicated socio-political problem.
I think Alan Young has just been very clear that this is for the upper echelon, right? So everyone gets what they want, and everyone else is just collateral damage. Except the collateral damage is a lot bigger than those who will see the inside of brothels. There's so many rules about working in a brothel. None of my friends will make it inside. Aboriginal women won't make it inside. Women who have blonde hair, blue eyes, and big boobs will make it inside. Or, Asian women, or there's a very particular type that works indoors. But there's far, far more that will never make it inside the front door.
Carrie Jean, are you going to open up a body house?
If anybody wants to underwrite a business, I'll be more than happy to accept your offers.
Let's talk about that later, shall we?
If I open up a body house, I have registered the name. It is Beaver Meadows Social Club, to showcase the fact that we are Canadian and that we are friendly.
Let's have a round of applause for Ireland.
I was 12. Okay, well, I was 15, and when my customers abused me, they weren't pedophiles. They were just Johns who didn't give a shit.
They were abusers.
You know, most of them are. So if a man has to go and live off a woman's body, I mean, come on, we're selling people like we're selling burgers in the store. Of course we are.
We are selling services.
Sex. I've worked with underage girls in body houses.
But groups crashed the Victory News Conference, including a woman whose mother was murdered by Robert Pickton, a serial killer who preyed on Vancouver prostitutes.
Yeah, it is.
For now.
The judges made their decision, and that's the way it's going to be.
But I will be working with MP Joyce Smith and make sure this law gets changed. Because my mom didn't die for you to create this hecticness.
I'm pleased to inform this House that the Government of Canada will seek leave to appeal this decision to the Supreme Court of Canada.
You know, it's been such a long battle. I feel as if now I just want to go home.
We need to step up our game and get it more in the forefront of people's minds so they understand that there is a third way.
So, I mean, I'm not desensitized, but I take things for what they're worth. And I do know that there's some horrible stories in the sex trade, and I'd like to think that I'm actually one of the people trying to make it better, not worse.
I see prostitution as one of the big impediments to the equality of women. So, of course, we'll continue to fight, and it's a fight that needs to take place not only legally, but also politically.